if you get the link. And please post it in the class group. Abdul, can you give me a book, please? The New Muslim Guide. No, the purple book. If we don't have it, just let me know. Yeah, it's a maroon book. It's not showing up yet?
My aunt, she has like 10 kids in front of her, and she couldn't tell apart. So this random AirPod was like, "Here, let me help you." She got in the car with the kids all in the back. Oh my God! You can't unlock the car and just went on his way. That's what right.
No, but who would do that?
Right.
Who wants to like?
I would take off with all them kids.
Right. Well, in Dubai, I'm sure they can. They're rich.
Yeah, but like. All right, guys, I'm live. Afsa, which surah are we on? I wonder if is anybody joining online? Yeah, but somebody has to send her the link because she's not on WhatsApp. Yeah, send it to her directly, please. Khadija does. Why is Noble online? Noble, what are you doing online? Why are you? No, she had a point where because WhatsApp is owned by Meta and they're obviously involved in a lot of this. The censoring and.
We moved to Signal.
We should do that after you just move everything there. It'll give us an excuse to get rid of the scragglers too. Some of the scragglers in the group who never say anything or just spying on us.
I wouldn't mind. I'm already on Signal.
Yeah, set it up inshallah. We can do that. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We are on surah number 99. If everybody would please open that up. Chapter number 99 in the Quran. And if anybody needs help, please ask Sister Hafsa. Sister Hafsa, let me know when everybody has it.
Ready.
All right. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So, Surah zilzal. It is zilzal means the earthquake, right? Um, so Surah Zilzal, most of the commentators say that this is a Makki surah, and some say that this is a Madani surah. And we explained the difference between Makki and Madani surahs before. If anybody has wants me to repeat that, I can. Okay, so we know that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him's um, life as a prophet was divided into two segments, right? He was born in Mecca, and he started off um, preaching there to the people of Mecca. He was there for 13 years before he migrated to Medina. In Medina, the Muslims established their first nation state. The reason this is significant in the Quran is during the Meccan period, you'll see more themes that deal with establishing the truth that the Prophet Muhammad is the Prophet, that Allah is one without any partners, and focusing more on the Day of Judgment. Whereas in the Madani surahs that were revealed in Medina, you'll see more themes that deal with interacting between society. You'll see things like fasting, praying, like Jummah, like Friday prayer in congregation, all these different types of themes that deal with marriage, inheritance, and these types of things that deal with social interactions. That's one of the differences. Another difference you'll see is in the Meccan surahs, the verses are a lot shorter, usually tend to be shorter. And in the Madani surahs, the ones that are revealed in Medina, the verses tend to be longer and more detailed. And then the focus is different as well. During the Meccan period, the uh, people who he was calling to Islam was the pagans of Mecca, and they were very harsh. So the tone is a little bit more strict with them. In Medina, he was a lot of times calling people who are people of the book, Christians and Jews. So the tone is a little bit more, while it's still always direct, it appeals to them that, upon the similarities, and gives them the stories of the prophets that were similar and things like that. So it's important to know. It helps us understand a little bit of the context of the themes of the surahs and chapters. It gives a little more context and understanding into the deeper meaning. So, Surah Zilzal, like I said, most of the commentators say it was revealed in Mecca, and that can be seen in the theme. Um, there is some evidence that it could have been revealed in Medina, or um, it could have been discussed. There's a hadith where it was discussed in Medina as well. So, anyways, Zilzal means the earthquake, which is the final earthquake that will happen to destroy the earth and um, hearken the day of judgment, because the earth will be destroyed, and then Allah will bring forth all the souls and everybody, and um, give them life and resurrect everyone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah says, إِذَا, did I say it right? Did I do the zal right, Sister Diana? Anybody who's in the Sunday class would know. إِذَا, right?
Yes.
I'm trying. So we have Sunday Quran class where we're learning all of the letters, how to say them correctly. I encourage everybody to come if they can. Not this Sunday, obviously it's Eid, but starting back up next Sunday. So إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا, when the earth is shaken with its final earthquake. وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أثقالها. And the earth discharges its burdens. So means that like the things that are hidden in the earth are brought forth. And what's hidden in the earth? People, right? People who are buried are hidden in the earth, and the earth will bring them forth. And all any other secrets that are in the earth as well, like as far as um, what people did on the earth, because there are a number of narrations that this earth will bear witness on us of what was done. And even though Allah is all watching and He knows what we have done on the day of judgment, if somebody doesn't admit what sins they do, or tries to stay quiet, that his hands and his feet will say that I did this, and the earth will bear witness that somebody did this or somebody did that, whether it's positive or negative. وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. And humans will say, what is wrong with it? Like, what is all this that's going on? Out of fear. What is wrong with this earth that is bringing out all the secrets? يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. That day it will report its news. So the earth will tell whatever that was done on the earth. بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا. Because your Lord has inspired or commanded it to do so. يَوْمَئِذٍ يَصْدُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا لِيَرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُم. On that day, people will depart separated into categories, and separated into groups, to be shown the result of their deeds. So people will be separated. The people who will be forgiven, the good people will have, will be with other good people, and the people who will be punished will be separated into their group and will be punished. فَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ. And whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it. Dharra means like a grain, like a mustard seed or a grain of sand, something very small. So whoever does any good, even a small good deed, they will see that on the day of judgment. It'll be weighed. Nothing will be forgotten. وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. And whoever does an atom's weight of evil, whoever does a bad deed, will see it on the day of judgment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah is giving us a description once again of the day of judgment, and calling us to think about it and think about our deeds. That no matter what we do, whether it's good or it's bad, it'll be in front of us on the day of judgment. So when we think about it, then we'll be motivated to do more good and stay away from evil, because we don't want to have that. We don't have to account for, why did you do this? Why did you disobey me? If Allah asks us, why did you disobey me? There's really no excuse for it. So once again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving these descriptions so that we can straighten ourselves out and take our own accountability before accountability is taken from us. Is there any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, then let's get into our book.
I'll have a comment.
Yes.
Every summer I do a Dawah Intro to Islam at St. Catherine's School for Girls. And they usually have a lesson in their books that they're studying different religions in Islam. But I picked up one of their books one time I was in that class, and like the pastor who wrote the book was like complaining like, oh, those Muslims, they And he didn't phrase it this way, but the way he, like our God, takes into account and Adam's way to the good and the bad that we do. But they were flipping it around, making it like God pays attention to all the good and the bad that we do.
Right. Like, yeah.
For me, it's like, but we're accountable.
Yeah.
And we're not, we can't just get away with all the nasty stuff and pray that God, and believe in Jesus and that's the end of it. We're accountable for everything.
We're accountable for everything, but we also remember, and what they're not taking into consideration there is Allah's mercy. Just because we're accountable for everything, He starts the Quran off with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the most merciful. He's always reminding us that He's merciful.
And I always like to tell them the thing about the scales.
Yeah.
If you think you're doing bad, but don't, versus if you think you're doing good and don't.
Right.
So I always like do that for the grace and the mercy.
Right. There's grace and mercy. It isn't just, a God who isn't merciful. To the point where if we do one good deed, we're rewarded 10 times. When we do one bad deed, it's only counted as once. Right? So, but yeah, that has to be taken into consideration. And these things are meant to make us ponder and to scare us a little bit that, yeah, everything we do is there. And for people who have no fear of accountability, that is scary. Okay. We talked about Eid al-Adha last time. Just some reminders. Tomorrow is called the day of Arafah. It is the most important day of the year. It's the day when the pilgrims congregate in a place called Arafah. And the act of worship that they do is they just supplicate to Allah. That's all the pilgrims do. For us, it's the same thing. While we're not at the pilgrimage, this is a day where we supplicate the most. This is a day where Satan is frustrated because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives so many people on the day of Arafah that he becomes frustrated, that he works so hard to make us do evil all year, and then we come and we ask for forgiveness on this one day and we're all forgiven. There's a few things that we can do to benefit from this day. Number one, fasting. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that fasting the day of Arafah, it will be like an expiation for 2 years of sins, the year that preceded it and the year that is coming. So that's one big benefit. That one day of fasting can, wipe out 2 years of sins. That's a big deal. Secondly, just supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking for whatever you want to ask, whether it's, a problem you're facing in this dunya, in this world, a problem you're facing, maybe you feel weak in your acts of worship, and you can turn that and ask upon that. Asking for salvation and grace in the afterlife. Right? So these are all things we can supplicate for, and it's the best day for supplication. Repentance, and just praising Allah as well. Just saying Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Subhanallah, whatever words of gratitude, whatever words of praise that we can say for Allah, it's worth doing that tomorrow. So tomorrow is a very, very important day. We should not miss it. We should try to take time out and do our best to worship Allah on this day. Sunday is the day of Eid. This is the Eid of sacrifice. On Sunday morning, we'll pray the Eid prayer. Those who know what I am doing will be going to the farm and do it. And we'll pray the Eid prayer there and then making sacrifice there as well. Um, if you are able to make a sacrifice, please do so. It's very important, and it's a great reward to do so. And even if you're not able to, just at least be participate in something, so you also don't feel left out. Does anybody know if any Eid events or Eid parties or anything that's going on?
There's one, I got a flyer for.
Anything locally in Richmond? I didn't see much of anything.
In March, yeah.
I just saw one.
And I think
I
it's
posted the Eid Bazaar.
There's that one in Mr. that will persevere. It says Eid al-Adha prayer and community barbecue. The bounty house has flag football games and stuff. It says bring your family and dish to share for a day of fun and togetherness and trauma. It's like the one on Northern Avenue. Not sure.
Yeah.
It's Bryan Park,
Oh, in Bryan Park. Okay.
12 p.m.
Okay, so they're doing it in the
They
park.
have prayer. It doesn't say where the prayer is. They have prayer at 9 a.m. and then
Oh, okay.
barbecue is at 12 p.m. So maybe it's at the park.
Yeah, probably.
That's the only one I know.
We'll be hanging out at the farm as well, cooking stuff, and yeah, I shared it as well. And I think a lot of it is because Eid is on a Sunday, and that day everybody's busy, so it's hard to do anything for Eid on that. And then the right after that is a weekday, so anything else will be like next weekend. Next weekend there might be a couple things.
There's this one. The DC Maryland Virginia.
Yeah.
So you have to buy tickets for that. They have quite a few things now, water parks, indoor, archery, soccer, volleyball, basketball.
Okay. All right. So let's get back into any questions about tomorrow, about Eid, anything like that. And just a reminder is keep praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Keep praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these next 5 days. So tomorrow, and then the day of Eid, and then the 11th, 12th, 13th. So that's up until Wednesday, Maghrib on Wednesday. So keep praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can during these days. Any other questions? Yes, you were saying something?
Oh, no. What time is it? You start at 5?
8 o'clock.
Oh, that's
Huh?
that late?
Yeah, it is a little bit late. It is far too, that's why.
So we have to leave the house at like 6:30.
Hour and a half.
It's an hour.
No, it's not even an hour. It's like 50 minutes.
Yeah, this air is not gonna stop now.
All right, so what page are we on? 174? No, 173. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so we got up to things that are prohibited due to the manner in which they are acquired. So let's read through this, please. Who would like to read?
Where are we starting?
173, the start of the first column, the middle of the first column.
These
Right.
are prohibited due to the manner that they were acquired. These are things that are naturally lawful, but they become unlawful due to the manner in which they are acquired, causing harm to the individual and society at large. Things which generally render transactions unlawful are usury, riba, deception, injustice, and gambling. Clarification. Usury is riba.
Okay.
Practice of assigning a fee on credit and other borrowed assets on top of the principal borrowed amount, thus making a profit on the loan, which is strictly prohibited in Islam due to the harm and injustice involved in it.
Okay, so we talked about things before which are prohibited because of what they are. So, for example, we as Muslims are prohibited from selling alcohol because alcohol is prohibited. So, making money off of alcohol is also prohibited. So, there's certain things because of their prohibition, doing business with that thing is not permissible. There are other things where um, while the item itself that's being bought and sold may be permissible, the manner in which you're buying or receiving it is not permissible. So, for example, if buying a laptop is permissible, if I was to steal the laptop, that's not permissible. Or if I was to deceive somebody and give them a counterfeit, you know, a counterfeit bills, now that's not permissible because I attained this with uh, an act of deception. Similarly, um, and what is going to be talked about a little bit here is riba, usury, um, buying and selling on interest. This is prohibited in Islam. And this is a lot of times very um, foreign to us or new to us because in this country, they have trapped people in student loans and, you know, all these types of different loans and interest bearing credit cards and everything like that. And it's a way of life that people don't really think about. Um, but it's also very harmful because, you know, the average person starting out, when they're taking a student loan, they're 20 years old, now 18 years old, they're making these financial decisions, and now they're stuck with this loan and they're paying much, much, much more than they would have than they borrowed back for many, many years. And who's benefiting? The creditors, the banks, the government. And they're just, it's just making the poor poor. And same with like the credit card systems, right? People think like, oh, I'll just pay the minimum and this and this. And they just end up paying these exorbitant interest rates and they're just losing money because people don't know any better or they get stuck in it. And who's benefiting? The banks. And the average person is, getting beat up. And this creates financial instability in our lives and it's harmful. So
And it's like the amount isn't a little amount. When you hit a profit on it, and you buy a car and you pay off. If you were to just pay the cost of the car versus the interest of the pay, it's like millions of dollars. The difference is so.
yeah, it is. It's a huge difference. You end up paying like double or whatever by doing it that way, and it's just harming people. And this is why Islam forbids this, because we are not trying to harm people. And through these systems, this is why we have wealth inequality. We have, I don't remember the statistic, but it's something like there's like 10 or 20 people who own like it's like a crazy like 60 or 70% of the world's wealth. It's like a crazy amount. Like the top 1% owns like 80% of the wealth. It's crazy. These numbers are crazy when you look at them, and this is why we have all this wealth inequality, and people can't make ends meet in a month unless they're working 2 or 3 jobs. And why? And this is these systems are why. These systems are also why you're seeing the decline of like small stores, moms and pop stores. They can't compete with these huge giants of Walmart and stuff like that. They are able to get billions of dollars worth of credit, and this whole system is based on this credit and this and these interest based systems. And you don't have small merchants anymore. People can't make money, and it just becomes very, very difficult. Even getting an education, the price of it has gone up because people can just get loans, and it's just, if you really examine the whole system, it's very harmful. So this is why Islam forbids us from doing this. It forbids that if somebody borrows money from you, you don't have to give somebody money if they will ask you for money. But if you do, then take back what you gave them. If you led somebody $100, then take back $100. No reason to take back 150. And also don't take these loans out for yourself because, again, they're harmful. So this is what's being talked about here. And we'll answer some questions on it as well. So let's continue reading.
Riba is of different types. The most serious type of riba and the one that is the more unlawful is relating to loans and debts. Any stipulated amount over the principal in a transaction of a loan or debt ends up 2 times. Riba on debts. This type of riba exists in every debt which carries a stipulation binding the debtor to pay to the creditor any sum of money in excess of the principal sum of the debt. For example, John borrows £1,000 from Martin and promises to pay back after a month. John finds himself unable to pay the debt off for months, so Martin, the creditor, stipulates that John either pays the debt off without any excess of the principal sum of the debt, or pays £1,100 after another month. If he still cannot possibly pay that off after another month, Martin defers payment for another month on the condition that John pays £1,200. So it keeps on escalating.
Right. And that's what the system is. It just keeps throwing you further and further into servitude. So it's saying the riba on debts, that if you borrow somebody from somebody your money, and then they're charging you back more on it. Okay.
The other type is riba on loans, which is a person takes out a loan from another person or from a bank with the stipulation at the time of the contract that the borrower must pay annual interest. Both the parties agree on, say, 5% on the borrowed amount to the lender. The example is that John is interested in a house which is worth £100,000, doesn't have enough money to purchase it, so he takes out a loan from the bank on the condition that he must pay the bank $150,000 in monthly payments over a period of 5 years. So percentage.
Okay, let's keep going till we finish this.
What is the
174, yeah.
riba is strictly forbidden in Islam, and one of major sins as long as the loan is taken out with interest, whether it's an investment loan, financing a business or industry, or purchasing a vital asset such as a house or property, or a consumer loan for personal, family, or household purposes. However, purchasing goods in installments at a price higher than the actual price paid in cash is not considered a form of riba. Purchasing installments at a price higher.
You read the example, then I'll
For
explain.
example, a person has a choice to purchase a kitchen appliance for £1,000 and pay for it in cash, or to pay $1,200 in monthly installments, paying a monthly amount of only £100 to the owner of the store from which he purchased the appliance.
Okay, so the difference here is he's buying it from the store. He's not borrowing the money from a bank. I'm borrowing 1,000 from a bank and I'm paying the bank back 1,200. So for riba to exist, for a usury to exist, it means that you're taking a loan of a certain amount and you're giving more than that back. But if I work out a deal with somebody saying, hey, I want to buy your car. Okay, it's $5,000. I can't. Okay, then just give it to me over time and it'll be 6,000. If it's still with the owner of the property, that's fine because that's just negotiating a deal. You can negotiate a deal upon your terms, but borrowing it from the bank and giving the bank back more money, that's not permissible.
And the one is borrowing money to do something with it. Even if you're borrowing money to go buy these appliances, it's still a different form of transaction.
Right, because what you're doing is what I borrowed, I'm paying more than it.
Yeah. If you agree to pay more for the thing because you can't pay the bulk.
Yeah, you just negotiated a deal. That's different. Yeah. Basically, as long as there's no bank involved, you should be good.
But so, what did you say you have a car that's,
I'm buying a car from a person, not from the bank, right? I'm buying a car from a person. And the person says, like, okay, it's $5,000. Well, okay, let's negotiate this a little bit. Can I pay you a little bit more and have installments? Okay, cool, no problem. So if I'm doing it directly with that person or that shop, that's fine.
This example is the appliances being purchased from a store.
Yeah, the shop owner, right? The person, the shop, the dealership. No, you can still, that's again negotiated. Maybe they say that, okay, you can, whatever their terms are. That's fine. It's just a negotiation. Because you're just, buying it from the owner of that item.
So even a car dealer sells it to them, great.
As long as you're paying the car dealer and not the bank.
Okay.
And then they give you money, you're paying for something.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you're still only purchasing a car, right? But when the bank gets involved, then you're borrowing money and paying more than that back. So when a bank gets involved, it's always interest. They don't get involved for free. All right, let's keep reading.
Islamic religion riba. Textual evidence from the Quran and the Prophet's traditions points out that riba is strictly forbidden in Islam. It's one of the major sins, and that Allah has not declared war on any one of the sinners except those who deal with riba. In fact, riba is forbidden not only in Islam, but in all previous divine religions. Such a ruling, however, was changed after numerous distortions crept into the religious texts of such religions, and altered many other rulings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that he inflicts punishment on a group of people of the book for taking usury, although it had been forbidden to them.
Okay, so riba usury was forbidden for not only for Muslims but for the nations before. But of course, they changed that for their own benefit, like they did for to a lot of different rules and laws. All right, who else can read this in the next section?
Punishment for riba,
Mhm.
those who engage in usurious. I hope I'm
Yep,
pronouncing
yeah,
it
yep, that's good.
okay, transactions, expose themselves to a war which Allah, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce.
That's fine.
Shut up.
May he be blessed, you could say. Yeah.
And his messenger have declared on those who deal with riba, thereby becoming their enemies. As the Quran states, if you do not do so, you warn of war from Allah and his messenger. But if you repent, you may have your capital without wronging and without being wronged. Indeed, such a war leaves devastating physical and psychological effects, and the numerous forms of deep anxiety and depression that have afflicted people these days are some signs of such a war which Allah has declared on those who disobey his commands by engaging in usurious transactions. The effects of such war in the hereafter will be far worse than one can possibly imagine.
Okay, so now he's going to go over some of the textual evidence of the punishments or the sin of riba usury. So in one verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that um, if you do not do so, like if you do not refrain from um, these usury, be warned of a war from Allah and His Messenger. But if you repent, you may have your capital without wrongdoing, without being wronged. And this is scary because who wants to be at war with Allah and His Messenger? That's not something you'll win. And the effects of that, as he points out, are numerous. That if we're on bad terms with the one who provides for us and the one who's created us and don't have blessings in our life, then where are we? Then we don't see blessings in our income. We see our families getting sick all the time, or we get into accidents, and we have all these different expenses. And what we think we were gaining, we're not, because all the blessings in our earnings is from Allah. Not only that, we have to account for it on the day of judgment of why we did this and why we disobeyed Him. All right, second, number two.
Those who engage in usurious transactions in any way are deprived of Allah's mercy. I cannot pronounce his name. I was staring at it for the longest.
Jabir
Jabir
ibn Abdullah.
Abdullah.
Abdullah, yeah.
Okay. Allah's messenger cursed the person who accepts usury, interest, the one who gives it, the one who records it, and the two witnesses to it. He said they are all sinners.
Right. So the person who gives the usury, who accepts it, who witnesses it. So this is why we don't want to be working for a bank or working in places where we're dealing with interest, because we're part of the sin. Same way we don't want to be working for a package store, or same way we don't want to be working in any other um, industry or business where things are not permissible. So this is one of the reasons why. Number three.
They will be resurrected on the day of judgment in such an unsightly manner that they will be staggering, jerking, and shaking like someone suffering from madness or experiencing epileptic seizures. As the Quran states, those who take unlawful interest will stand before Allah on the day of judgment as those who suffer from a mental imbalance because of Satan's touch.
All right, so this is just another form of punishment, that they will have seizures, and they'll, they'll just be in a very, very horrible situation on the day of judgment. Number four.
Profits, excuse me, profits made from usurious transactions, no matter how massive they may look, will be deprived of all blessing, and those who make use of such profits will find neither happiness nor peace of mind. As the Quran states, Allah deprives usurious gains of all blessings, whereas He blesses charitable deeds with manifold increase.
So once again, um, if you, let's say, get money out of usury, and even if you do something good with it, you get, let's say you gave sadaqah for it, or you try to help somebody, you won't be rewarded for that, because the money that you had was gained through improper ways, and you won't find peace or happiness in this life. Um, you won't have Allah's blessings. But if you have a little money and you struggle with it and you try to do your best, then you'll find Allah's blessings are with you. So we'll continue this topic next week as well. I wanted to divide it into two so that the people who come next week can also benefit from this topic, because it is an important one, because it's something that is very common, even with Muslims. It's very common, that we've kind of ignored it, and we've fallen into it, and now we are where we are. So, any questions? Any questions from those online? All right, inshallah. So let's wrap it up. Um, did everybody get one of these hadith books? You need one? Hafsa, you want to hand one, please? Inshallah, we'll incorporate this book as well. It's a nice little book that kind of introduces us to what is hadith and what are, some of the um, simple hadiths that we can read and benefit from. As we know, the hadiths are the teachings of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And it's important that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He revealed the Quran, did not just reveal the Quran as a book by itself. He revealed it and gave us the messenger as an example of how to act upon this book. So when He says that we must pray, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us how to pray, when to pray, how to make wudu, what breaks wudu, what all of these different rulings that we would not have known without him. And some people fall into this misconception that, well, the Quran is perfect and complete, so why do I need anything else to understand it? But that's not how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed it. And He wanted us to be unified in our religion. If He just gave us a book and allowed us to interpret it ourselves, then I would think something else logically, you would think something else logically, the third person would think something else logically, and now we're all divided. And you'll see that a lot of time with some of the sects that have kind of gone in the wrong direction. They'll be like, "Well, just take the Quran and don't read the Hadith," and that's what happens. People start interpreting things in their own way. The Prophet was sent to teach us how to interpret this Quran and how to act upon it, so that we'll be unified on it. So, and even in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that obey Allah and obey the Messenger. And he mentions whatever the Messenger gives you, take it from him. And whatever he prohibits you from, then refrain from it. And he also says that what the Messenger utters, these words are revelation from Allah, that they are inspired by Allah. So it's important for us to understand what hadiths are and how they can help us to understand this religion. It's an important part of the religion. We can't just separate it and not study it. So um, we'll inshallah start with this book soon. I just want to make sure everybody has it. I think there's a lot of benefits to it as well. Any questions before we wrap up? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك